Say these words, please. Clothes.
Fashion.
Mini.
Midi.
Maxi.
Belt.
Cape.
Boots.
Jumper.
Sweater.
Sleeveless.
Backless.
Sleeve.
Skirt.
Wool.
Silk.
Tweed.
Velvet.
Terraline.
Lace.
Nylon.
Fur.
Cotton.
Metal.
Nylon stockings. Listen, please.
Separates or coordinates. Every girl should go for separates. I would suggest a wardrobe in miniature like this. Take a pinafore dress, a jacket, skirt, sweater, pants and shirt, and you have umpteen outfits that all go happily together. You have a sleeveless dress, a dress and jacket, a suit, separate skirt and sweater, or skirt and shirt, or shirt worn over the sweater with the skirt, and a trouser suit. And there need be no colour problems. Everything should be checked or plain, or spotted in colours that go together. Fashion should be a game, and it is fun to work out for yourselves the different ways of wearing the different garments.
Chapter 2. Music.
Listen, please.
The Beatles. The Beatles became famous in 1963, and for the first time, people of all ages began to listen to pop music. It seemed at first as if the Beatles' pop music was only for the young. Screaming girls came to their shows, 12,000 teenagers queued all night for tickets to one of their concerts, and 20,000 fans came to London Airport to see them when they came back from abroad. Do you remember the Beatle hairstyle? It started boys all over the world wearing long hair. And do you remember their early music? Songs like She Loves You, Yeah, 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 and I Want to Hold Your Hand, which sold 5 million copies. The fascination of the Beatles was partly the way they looked, partly the strong beat of the music they played, and partly their attitude to life. Their long hair and the fact that they looked young and nice, and at the same time sexy but safe, attracted 10 to 14-year-old girls who at that age would have felt frightened by the idea of big, strong men. The Beatles also looked a little like dolls, which was again attractive to young girls, and perhaps made them feel motherly. Yet at the same time, the strong rhythm of their 3 electric guitars and the drums was exciting. The Beatles, too, made fun of the adult world. They were cheeky. They took the mickey out of things they did not respect in society, especially things which were pompous and phony. 3 Beatles stories.
An American reporter asked why all the Beatles songs had the words I, me, or you in them. Should it be I Want to Hold Its Hand, said John Lennon, or She Loves Them?
At a Royal Command variety performance, where the seats are very expensive because the money goes to charity, and where the Queen Mother was present, John Lennon stepped to the front of the stage before the Beatles sang their last song and said to the audience, "On this next number, I want you all to join in. Would those in the cheap seats clap their hands? The rest of you can rattle your jewellery.
Ringo Starr to the head waiter at the New York nightclub 21. Do you have any vintage Coca-Cola?
The Beatles were all a part of a new trend in Britain, a trend towards change. Society in Britain had been changing, but not fast enough for young people. And that's why in the 1960s there was so much satire. On the stage with Beyond the Fringe, on television with That Was the Week That Was with David Frost, and with the magazine Private Eye. The same idea of something new, something fun, something decided by young people for young people can be seen in the clothes designed by Mary Quant. It was the Beatles that for the first time showed that young people coming from poor homes in Liverpool could become famous, rich and important while they were still young and at the same time could still remain themselves. Say these words, please. Guitar.
Electric guitar.
Drums.
Rhythm.
Beat.
The Beatles.
Cheeky.
Take the mickey.
Pompous.
Phony. Listen, please.
Since they became famous, the Beatles have experimented with many new ideas, and their music has become more sophisticated. They have combined their guitars with the strings of an orchestra in songs like Eleanor Rigby and She's Leaving Home, where they show the loneliness of people in modern society and the gap between the generations. The music of the Beatles is still, however, full of fantasy and fun, like the world of children. And in a way, the Beatles and Benjamin Britten, England's most famous living composer, are both interested in childhood. For Britten, childhood is a world of innocence, the time when people were good. And perhaps for the Beatles, childhood, the time before they started growing up, was a time for fantasy, for imagining things. And perhaps for both, it is a longing for a simpler time with no real problems, a time when we could all be happy in our imaginary yellow submarine. Say these words, please. Composer.
Conductor.
Concert.
Symphony.
Sonata.
Concerto.
Opera.
Ballet.
Orchestra.
Choir.
Listen, please.
Benjamin Britten. Benjamin Britten was born in 1913 and started writing music when he was 8 years old. His simple symphony for strings is entirely based on material from works which the composer wrote between the ages of 9 and 12, among them a piano sonata. Benjamin Britten has written 8 operas, a violin concerto, a ballet, many song sets with piano, and song cycles with orchestra. He has also composed many works for choirs, and in his choral works has often included boys' voices in a very imaginative way. This can be clearly seen in Britten's most famous work, War Requiem, which was first performed with Benjamin Britten as the conductor in 1963 in the new Coventry Cathedral when it was rebuilt after being bombed. This requiem or funeral song tells of the tragedy and sadness of war. War which has twice in 30 years killed so many people and ruined so many people's lives, and in England has meant that the money saved over 100 years has been spent to pay for wars which ruined Britain's economy. This theme of waste and pity is the message in the poems of Wilfred Owen, which Britain set to music and put together with the Latin Mass for the dead, in a work which combines solo singers, choirs and orchestra most movingly.
Religion.
Christian.
Roman Catholic.
The Pope.
A priest.
The Church of England.
The Archbishop of Canterbury.
A bishop.
A clergyman.
A vicar.
A curate.
Service.
The altar.
The choir.
The congregation.
A hymn.
A prayer.
The sermon.
Baptism.
To be baptized.
Christening.
To be christened.
Confirmation.
To be confirmed.
Communion.
The Church of Scotland, Presbyterian.
Minister.
Nonconformist, Free Church.
Methodist.
Congregationalist.
Baptist.
Quakers.
The Salvation Army.
Non-Christian.
Jewish.
Muslim.
Hindu.
Buddhist. Listen, please.
The majority of British people who say they have a religion at all say that they belong to the Church of England, or the Anglican Church as it is often called, which is the established or state church. But the Church of England is not owned by the state or given money by the state. Its income comes from its own land and capital, and altogether the Church of England owns £300 million in land and investments, which gives it an income of £17 million a year.
There are 2 archbishops, the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Archbishop of York, and 43 bishops in the Church of England. Approximately 27 million Englishmen have been baptized, about 60% of the population of England, and about 13 million have been confirmed, about 30%. But only approximately 3 million go to Easter Communion, about 7%.
There are no bishops or archbishops in the Presbyterian Church of Scotland or in the nonconformist or free churches in England. There the clergymen are called ministers. The Church of Scotland has about 1,280,000 members. The total population of Scotland is approximately 5,180,000. While the free churches of England, Methodists, Congregationalists, Baptists, etc., have a membership of approximately 1.5 million.
There are about 5 million Roman Catholics in Britain, approximately 10% of the population, and there are approximately 500,000 Jews, 200,000 Muslims, and several thousand Buddhists. According to a recent survey for the magazine Sunday, if all religions are added together, approximately 26% of the population go to church regularly.
According to another Gallup poll survey made for commercial television in 1965, 98% of the population believe in God. 40% of the population say their prayers. 60% would like religion to have more influence, while the great majority think that the greatest factor for good in society is the influence of the Roman Catholic priest, the Church of England vicar, and the nonconformist minister. Chapter 7. Sport. Say these words, please. Sport.
Football.
Soccer.
Rugger.
Cricket.
Tennis.
Golf.
Athletics.
Bowls.
Mountaineering.
Horse racing.
Motor racing.
Sailing.
Riding.
Show jumping.
Spectators.
Team.
Side.
Match.
Indoor games.
Darts.
Billiards.
Table tennis.
Listen, please.
Soccer is the most popular game in Britain, and there are 25,000 soccer clubs in Britain. Of these, approximately 140 are big professional clubs. There are about 8,000 professional soccer players in Britain, but there are nearly 1 million amateur players. The big professional clubs play each other on Saturday afternoons or weekday evenings during the winter and spring, and the last big match of the year is the Cup Final, which is played in May when there are 100,000 spectators. There are also international matches when England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales play against each other or against other countries. Other international matches are played between clubs in, for example, the European Cup, which was won in 1967 for the first time by a British side, Glasgow Celtic. The World Cup, which is played between teams from different countries, was won for the first time by England in 1966, where again there were 100,000 spectators for the final match at Wembley. Rugger is another popular type of football where there are 15 men on each side, and again there are international matches between England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales, and also matches against France, South Africa and New Zealand. Rugger is also played on Saturdays in the winter and spring.
In the summer, people play cricket, bowls and tennis, and golf can be played all the year round. Indoor games like darts, billiards and table tennis can, of course, be played all the year round. Other sports that can take place all the year round are athletics, mountaineering, riding, show jumping, motor racing, sailing and horse racing. The British like gambling, and horse racing is the most popular of sports to gamble on. In 1963, £560 million was bet on horse racing, which was much more than the money bet on the football pools, which was only £68 million.
The modern forms of a great many games were first invented in Britain, particularly England, in the last part of the 19th century, because by then England was an industrialized country, and with so many people living in towns, they needed ways of using their energy and getting the excitement that people used to get from country sports. The British like sport because it gives them the excitement of seeing which man or team will win. It gives them a chance individually to test themselves against other people, or animals in country sports, or nature as in mountaineering. They like sport because there is always a gamble in it. Nothing is absolutely certain. There is also the feeling of sportsmanship, playing the game according to the rules. And perhaps most important of all in sport you can see if a man or a team can really endure. That is, keep going on without ever giving up. And it is the quality of endurance that the British respect most.